Hi, my name is John Garfield. This is Releasing Kings newsletter. It is July 15th, 2015. This week I want to talk to you about putting life in corporate culture. I have a personal dream about making the workplace culture a lot more alive and putting people in touch with their own hearts and bringing something of the kingdom even into a secular culture. So the challenge is that large corporations have a mountain of policies, systems, and procedures that tend to cause people to lose the forest for the trees. People can easily feel unheard, unknown, unappreciated, and untapped in that kind of an environment. It's hard for young engineers to adjust their college expectations of professional life to the realities of work in a large bureaucracy. Our attrition rate is too high. Maintaining all the procedures and integration of competing systems consumes every manager's time, and there really is no credible attempt to manage the culture or how friendly the workplace is for people, how fruitful it is. So the environment can tend to frustrate the creative industrious types. I call them lions, okay, or kings, and leave the plodding servants to man the ship, the oxen. At some level, we self-select oxen for our staff and managers who become more and more cynical as they age. The mentoring program for most institutions produces oxen. Schools, corporations, and churches are particularly vulnerable. So I put a graphic in the newsletter that just spells this difference out. It describes oxen as obedient, surrendered, loyal, faithful, servant. We have a lot of emphasis in our churches, for example, on serving, a lot of emphasis in corporate culture on procedure compliance, same thing. And lions, on the other hand, are courageous, creative, self-starting, wealth multipliers, and risk takers. So I want to suggest that we need both, but we need to lead from our heart. We need to, even in our personal lives, we need to be lions in terms of articulating the dream or the motivation that drives us. So how are we going to change this culture? The lethargy of corporate culture is people whose hearts are not engaged in their work. They're not there. They are mentally at work, but their hearts are somewhere else. We all make mental decisions and find our motivation from the values that reside in our heart. Proverbs 4:23 says, out of the heart come the issues of life. And we are much less logical than either we or our organizations know or even care to admit. Regardless of our station, whether we're leader, manager, or employee, the starting place is knowing what is really in another person's heart. That question is usually only addressed in the exit interview. Why are you leaving? We all need to know why we are here now. Our hearts are all asking. So the first suggestion I want to make that we can implement is hearing hearts. The shift starts when we take the modest amount of time to ask one another, what is the desire of your heart? One realm is at work and the other is outside work. We don't really know another person until we have a picture of both. We have to create a culture where it's safe to ask and answer those questions, even if it's just on a voluntary basis. Now, I acknowledge that not everyone wants to engage in that conversation. Great. Move on to the next person. Most of us start out as oxen and we aren't necessarily connected with our hearts. No one ever asked before. Here are a few sample questions that can start that kind of a conversation. One, what's your dream? Is there synergism between your personal dream and the corporate vision? Two, if you were a leader, what would you change if you were driving the bus? Three, if you could change your work environment, what would it look like? How would you treat people? What would the office culture be like? And four, what do you want to do after this job? Nobody works any place forever. Or the question could be, what do you want to do outside your work, at home, or as a hobby, or as an alternative work? Lastly, how can I help you take the next step toward your dream? Okay? Pretty simple. That starts a conversation. I want to suggest the second thing that we can do in corporate culture is that we're often so busy with the daily agenda that we do a poor job of giving our staff a vision that warrants any enthusiasm. Meeting the contract deliverable and schedule to make the fee and profit is necessary and appropriate, and it pays the bills and our salaries. However, it may not be exciting. People are looking for a purpose in their professional life to answer the question, why am I here, that is being asked in their heart. People are looking for purpose, and the vision, if the vision isn't a compelling adventure that has some moral significance, we'll just weed out the lions. What if we admit that people are an important part of our corporate vision, that cultivating their dreams has a place in corporate culture? So real leadership in every organization that involves people has to deal with hearts. We do, whether we realize it or not, whether we're schools, churches, corporations. Leaders who release kings or release lions believe there is a creative genius hidden in every ox. Now, sometimes that takes faith because oxen are not inspiring. Sometimes it's hard to believe that they're carrying a treasure in an earthen vessel. But God has written something in the way of a dream on every heart and wired us with the talents to make it come true. That takes a step of faith, but it is no less true. So neither leaders, whether they're pastors or managers or teachers, nor oxen necessarily believe this. It is the good news of the gospel of the kingdom that leads us to life and life more abundantly. And I want to suggest that corporate prophets also benefit from people who are connected with their hearts and know what their dream is and have this treasure in earthen vessels. Knowing what's in the hearts of those around you is an essential ingredient of a healthy work culture. When it happens, people feel respected and loved, and the dynamic that results is very powerful. Instead of implementing this through a procedure or a system, let's make it a contagious lifestyle. What's your dream, and how can I help you take the next step? A team of people with synergism for the same dream and goals can make work fun and fulfilling, and it can convert a bored, unimaginative ox into creative, industrious lion kings. So I've got more details in the newsletter about how we use the heart plan. I want to encourage you to read that. I've also put some stuff in there about my personal story and also the story of David Nitch, a man who is a sixth grade teacher who has made the concepts of the heart plan and releasing king work in a school. He's been using it in his classroom and also coaching other teachers. It can work any place, and I want to suggest that this is a platform to start that process. I believe God is calling us to invade the business mountain and make it healthy, make it kingdom, make it alive. Have a great week.